Hey everybody, welcome to Friday night. I don't do this real often, but every once in a while I like to have a cigar, beer and a cigar. So I do a video on this channel once or twice a year. By the way, I'm sitting out by my little fire pit, and this is one of my favorite things to do. Usually we have a bunch of people over here, but sometimes I really enjoy just kind of coming out here by myself and hanging out. The video I want to talk, or the topic I want to talk about, by the way, if you do smoke cigars, gotta use wood matches. Absolutely. And I know some of you probably don't like cigars or think it's a dirty thing. I have, I don't know, maybe a half dozen a year. But I'm by myself tonight. It's just me. The house is literally empty. And like I said, I've done this topic. By the way, välkommen tillbaka. Tack för sist. Hvis du är norsk. Det är käckt att snacka med dig. Welcome back. Thank you for the last time. Thanks for being here. It's nice to talk to you. The subject I'm going to talk about is kind of a deeper one. And for the most part, my channel is about positivity, looking at the world in a good way. And even though this subject's a little heavy, it does contribute to it being a positive thing in the end. So like I said, I've told this story, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times on this channel. But if it helps one person, then it's worth every second I put into it. Those of you who don't know, I went through a divorce. It'll be 32 years ago this year. And so it's a long time ago. It's kind of like a different life for me. It really is. And it was a really rough time in my life. Really tough time. You know what? I'm gonna sit and see if we can get the fire in the picture. I know you can't see it real great there, but at least you can kind of see it. I'm burning a bunch of trees that we've had to cut down in my yard. Anyway, yeah, anybody that's been through a divorce, especially if it wasn't your idea, you understand where I'm coming from here. Now, understand, in that first marriage, I was married for 5.5 years, and it never meshed. We were never meant to be married. She was a good friend before I got married to her, and I was the same to her. We later found out, years later, that both of us, the day we got married, were like, what are we doing? This is not what I want. Nevertheless, we had a child who is now, she'll be 35 this month. She's got 4 beautiful kids. I love them with all my heart. I got a great son-in-law out of it. And I have no regrets. But I've mentioned before, I grew up in the Mormon church, and we got married in the Salt Lake Temple. If you're familiar with that, you've probably seen it. It's iconic with the spires. Whether you're Mormon or not, I'm guessing you've probably seen that church in a video or in something. And I gotta say, I wasn't impressed with. We were going to get married in the Manti Mormon Temple, which is a much smaller temple, and I think it would have been a better experience. Because frankly, when we got married in that temple, it felt like they were herding cattle. We got a number. I think there were 30 or 40 couples got married that day. It didn't feel intimate or cool or anything like that. Nevertheless, we got into the marriage, and like I said, it lasted. It was rough. We had lots of good times. It's not like, you know, we beat the crap out of each other. There's nothing like that. We just didn't mesh. We had different upbringings, and it just didn't work. Nevertheless, I decided I'm committing to this marriage because I made vows in that Mormon temple. So she came to me within a couple of years and said she wanted the divorce. And I tried to hang on, and we kind of fixed things, and we worked on it, and it wasn't great. I'm just going to move this log real quick because, well, let's just leave it. Nevertheless, it lasted a couple, well, 3.5 more years. And finally I said, fine, I can't do this anymore. Let's get divorced. But when she left and she took my daughter with her, that was really tough. You know what? I'm gonna get some more wood to put on this. I will be right back. Anyway, the time came when she finally left, and I was on the road a lot. I was in California. She was in Colorado with my daughter. I was working when she called and said she wanted a divorce. And at this point, I'd heard it several times. I was done, but I was devastated. It was such a rough time by myself on the road in a crappy motel room. And it wasn't so much the loss of her, it was the loss of my family. Like I said, I made a vow, and I wanted to honor that, and I wanted to stick with it to the end, whatever that means. So it just felt like I'd lost my family. For the last year of our marriage, I kind of played Mr. Mom. She had a really good job that paid more than I could make. And even though I worked my ass off my whole life and I wanted to go get a job, I decided, well, she kind of decided too that, you know, it's better this way. So I played Mr. Mom, and I loved being home with my daughter. Don't get me wrong, but I felt kind of useless at the same time. So as it fell apart, basically my life fell apart. I was in Colorado where her family was, but I had no friends, I had no family. My family was in Utah and in Canada. And it was a really dark time. That was in October of '94, early October. It must have been right after the new year of 1995. I helped her and my daughter move back to Utah. I moved back to Utah. It was very strange. None of her family showed up to help. None of them. But it was still my family, so I helped. And I got an apartment by myself, actually quite a nice condo. I was starting to make somewhat half decent money. Now it's getting hot. Might have to move. But I ended up getting a couple roommates just because I was on the road so much. It didn't make sense for me to be paying this rent when I'm there like 5 days of the month. But when I was there, I had my daughter quite often. But the nights where I was by myself were so dark. They were the darkest days of my life, just bar none. I would sit at night contemplating why I should be alive. I'd lost my family. I'd lost my purpose. You know, the church told me that this is what it's all about, eternal family and staying together. Well, that all fell apart. So I was in a dark, dark place. I'm gonna have to move a little. That's way too hot. And if I didn't have my daughter, I don't know what I would have done. I still think I would have stuck it out just because that's the kind of guy I am. But, you know, if I'm being honest, there were nights I thought about ending it, for lack of a better term. But frankly, that scared me too, because I was brought up in the Mormon church where that's a big sin. And so I didn't know what to do. I was so depressed, so sad, in such a dark, dark place. A place I've never been in since. Thankfully. And if any of you have been in that place, you know what I'm talking about. It might not be because of a marriage breaking up. It could be, you know, the loss of a spouse, or, I mean, I guess I lost a spouse too in a different way. I'm not trying to compare those things. I actually had a friend who went through a divorce. No, sorry, I got that backwards. I actually had a friend who lost his wife to cancer around that time. And part of me envied him because there was no fixing that. And frankly, I don't think they would have stayed together if she hadn't gotten sick. And she was a good friend of mine too, and it was very sad. But he seemed to deal with that a lot better than I dealt with my divorce. So what I'm getting at here, my main point is, what's after that? How do you fix that? How do you get out of that? And it's not easy, but I will tell you how I did it. Now, this is before the internet and Wi-Fi and, you know, social media and all that stuff. And I dove back into books. I used to be into books. I dove back in, specifically Louis L'Amour. I love that guy. I love all his Westerns, but my two favorite books of his are not Westerns. And if you like reading and you like adventure, the first one is called The Walking Drum. It takes place, I think, in the 1100s. It kind of takes place along the same trail that Marco Polo walked. And it's a long book. I think it's almost 1,000 pages. I've read it maybe 5 times, and I've also listened to it twice on Audible. Hey, Audible, if you want me to sponsor, I could do that for you. The other one is called The Walking Drum. The other one is called Last of the Breed. And it's a little more modern. It takes place during the Cold War, and an American pilot gets shot down over the USSR and has to escape through Siberia with Yakutsk guy, I think he was Yakutsk, tracking him. And it's amazing. It's also about 1,000 pages, I think. Don't quote me on that, but it's around. Woo! That's hot. Dang. And I dove into those books. I read so many of Louis L'Amour's books. In fact, I was walking up the stairs the other day, and we have a bookcase at the top of the second floor, and a bunch of my books were there. And I went downstairs, and there's under the basement stairs, there's a little pantry area, and a whole bunch of my books were there. And I kind of reminisced because they, I think, quite literally saved my life. I didn't have anybody. My brother lived in Salt Lake City. I lived in Provo. I saw him once a week, and him and his wife were amazing to me. I would take my daughter up there. They had a little girl, and that was huge for me. But what really saved my life, my soul, everything, be right back. Sorry about that. Was books. Books saved my life. I would, when I was on the road, you know, I could work all day. And I'd come back to my hotel, and I don't know what I did. Watch TV, I guess. I didn't have a laptop. There was nothing like that. But when I was home, actually, I think I started taking the books on the road with me too. When I was home, the days were kind of long and tough, except the time I spent with my daughter. But the nights, I escaped into this whole other world. And it was like I became the characters. And I guess what I'm trying to tell you, if you're in a dark place, find something to glom onto. Books, TV series, movies, friends. Friends are the best. Friends and family and friends. Let's put them in that order. Family and friends are the best. But, you know, sometimes family is strained, and friends can be a lifesaver. I didn't have that. So find something that you can really grab onto and disappear into. I went to other worlds. I went to other times. I was in the 1100s. It was such an escape for me, and gradually, and I don't know, it was weeks for sure. It might have been months, because I read dozens of books in that time. But, you know, if you know Louis L'Amour, he really studied his stuff. He knew his stuff. When he did his Westerns and his The Walking Drum, The Last of the Breed, he researched the hell out of that stuff. And he knew what he was talking about. It wasn't just like pulling it out of his butt. So I feel like I learned a lot too while I was being so entertained. I would stay up some nights till 2, 3, 4 in the morning just reading, because I knew when I was reading I was in that place. I wasn't in the bad place. I wasn't in here. And that's what you got to get out of, is here. Because that's what brings us down. Damn. Every time this gets me, and I apologize, but I've had several people reach out to me and tell me that it helped them. So, if there's somebody out there right behind this camera watching and this can help at all, I hope it does. What I'm trying to say is there's still life, there's still happiness. My second marriage, going on 30 years now, is such a blessing. And I have 3 more kids because of it, and 2 more grandkids. And I found my way through the darkness. My hope for anybody, you know, maybe it's drug addiction, maybe it's alcoholism, maybe it's an abusive spouse, whatever it is, I hope you know that there's life afterward. There's happiness afterward. And I know this is a longer video because every time I do it, I struggle through it. So, anyway, let's get back to the happy place. Life is really good now. Other than my back is so screwed up. I've been home for 4 weeks now. I thought I'd be home for a week. I'm in the middle of a job in California that I got to finish, and I have at least 3 or 4 weeks left on that job. So right now, I've been spending a lot of time diving into social media, YouTube, TikTok. My TikTok name is the same as here, Norwegian Arnold. It's mostly goofy stuff over there. So if you just want something funny to watch, laugh at me, with me, whatever works for you. So, but please know, there is light at the end of the tunnel. That's the point of this whole video. I have a beautiful home, a beautiful family. I've got a good job. You know, I work hard for what I have, and I don't have a problem with that. You see the fire? There's something about fire. I think it's in our caveman souls or something. So I'm not going to drag on any longer. I feel like now I'm dragging. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the support, the likes, the subscriptions, the comments. I love the comments. Oh man, I was going for a record butt there. Thank you. Takk for denne gangen. Jeg håper å se deg igjen hvis du er norsk. Du må snakke norsk til meg når du gjør comments. If you're Norwegian, well, you already understood. I basically said, leave me comments in Norwegian if you're Norwegian. I love reading Norwegian. I can still read it really well. I speak it pretty decent, but if I had to get into like some deep conversation, I would get lost. And if it was the wrong dialect, I would get lost. But y'all are fantastic. Thank you. I hope you have a beautiful weekend. I hope you have a beautiful life, because I think we all deserve to have a beautiful life. I know there are people in this world that may never have that, and I feel blessed beyond measure for what I have, including y'all watching this. Before I blubber again, I'm going to check out. Peace, love.